bad idea. Welcome back to the vlog, guys, and I'm super happy to have you here. Over the past 30 days, I implemented World Carnivore Month. And for you guys that maybe don't know what that is, I simply just ate the following items: milk, salt, butter, cheese, eggs, and red meat. I simply just did this for the past 31 straight days and nothing else. I wanted to see the effects that it would bring onto my body, and my goal and my intention while doing this was not to simply lose weight or get shredded. For me personally, I'm very happy with where I'm at, and I've worked very hard to get there. But I wanted to make sure my caloric intake almost remained the same, and I wanted just to see the effects of actually how I felt, what would happen if my strength honestly decreased, and if I would just continue on in the same fashion that it was before. The main intention behind me doing this was to actually see if it is like the ultimate elimination diet. Would I still get gassy? Would I still get bloated? How would my cognitive function feel? And would I lose strength? So I'm gonna answer all those for you guys here. Now, before completing this, I weighed in at 182.6 pounds, and some days I'd fluctuate up to 183.4. So my median weight is about 183 on average. Now, at the end of doing this for 31 straight days, my average weight came down to about 177.2 to 0.6. So I didn't have a drastic weight loss in any means. It actually still would have been a good moderate weight loss if that was my intention or my goal, but that wasn't. So what I did when first starting is I tracked my calories for 3 days to make sure my caloric intake wasn't actually going to be too low. For the reason being is I've worked really hard to get to where I was, and I didn't want to lose a bunch of weight. I just wanted to see the effects of doing the carnivore approach. So in doing so, on average, I usually consume about 2,500 to 2,700 calories per day. That's what I was consuming here while doing this, and what that actually looked like for me on a meal basis was 1.5 cups of ground beef, 6 eggs, 1 tablespoon of butter, some salt. And then on meal 2, I would consume 1 liter of milk because I was having a hard time of actually getting a caloric intake due to the satiating point of the protein and the fat. So by me adding a liter of milk into my second meal, and I was having 3, that actually allowed me to bring up my caloric intake an extra 576 calories and filled the remaining void that I was having a hard time actually filling. With that being said, that was honestly the hardest part about doing the World Carnivore Month, was actually eating the volume of food that I needed to stay where I wanted to stay. For the reason being, protein is very, very satiating. It's hard to overeat. And I would say to all of you that are sitting here being like, well, if you eat too much protein, you're gonna get fat. Good luck. You can sit there practically as much as you want. You are going to have a very, very hard time overeating when it comes to protein. Now, fat, obviously that's a different story, right? It's also got 9 calories per gram, and it's a little different as opposed to carbs and protein where they both only got 4. But when it comes down to the fat, it's also a satiating macronutrient. So it is also going to be very hard to overconsume when you are pairing it in this approach. Now, while doing it, I thought I was going to lose strength. I'll be very honest. I was prepared to lose the strength. I thought I was going to lose the strength. And when I was going to the gym for the first week, I was being moderate with the weights. I wasn't hitting them super hard. Week number 2, 3, and 4, I came in guns a-blazing. I was like, you know what? Let's see what I can actually really do right now. In week 2, I was actually hitting PRs in my bench press, in my squat, in my deadlift, and all my lifts actually, I felt really, really good. I don't know why. But I'm just telling you guys how it is and how it worked for me personally. I felt great. I was hitting multiple PRs. The one thing that I did notice though is when I pushed my workouts usually past 50 to 60 minutes of going really intense, then I would hit the wall, right? My glycogen stores felt a little bit depleted when I would push past those limits or boundaries or time. And then I could definitely feel the effects. But anything past that, or before that, I felt great. I felt good the whole time. Now, the number one thing that I actually heard from everybody when they were actually doing this approach was usually the stool becomes a little loose. Or maybe when you go to the washroom for the first 2 weeks, things are a little scary. For me personally, it wasn't at all. The only thing that I noticed is I actually just had a lot less waste coming into my system. So my bowel movements weren't regular on an every single day basis. They were more on an every second day basis. Good healthy bowel movements, nothing wrong there for me personally, and I'm just sharing my personal experience with you guys so you guys can learn from it. Also, when it came down to the cognitive function, I felt great. There was 2 days where I did not feel too good. The reasoning why? I didn't have enough sodium. Now, something that I want everyone to remember, when you guys are doing physical activity, you guys are gonna excrete sodium. Don't be afraid of salt. There's nothing honestly wrong with salt. The thing to actually be afraid of is sugar at the end of the day. And I just want to give you guys that constant reminder because this is very, very important. In the 2 days when I actually didn't consume enough salt, well, I had a splitting headache. With that being said though, when doing this type of approach, what is going to happen? You are going to go to the washroom a lot more due to the lack of glycogen in your muscles. You see, when your muscles are filled with glycogen, when you have carbohydrates, you are not going to go to the washroom as much as if you were on a carnivore-based approach. So for me, I was going to the washroom about twice as frequently while doing this approach. And with that being said, I had to be mindful to make sure that I was getting enough salt and sodium into my diet while doing it, so my electrolyte stores didn't get totally depleted, so I didn't feel like crap. That was the hardest thing of those 2 days when that came to it. And other than that, guys, at the end of the day, this felt like a great approach. If I was somebody, honestly, that had Crohn's, colitis, IBS, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, rosacea of the skin, I honestly believe that this could be a great dietary approach to implement for some time being. Now, I'm not saying to do it obviously long term, but I'm saying if maybe we have a response going on in our body, or maybe a disease that's in an inflammatory state, maybe taking the restrictive approach and implementing that into our life to get it under control until it passes, and then slowly start implementing things back into your diet that work best for you. Something that I wanted to really see as well, and I definitely believe in this. Listening to your body, and I know, just hold on and don't shoot the messenger here, but if you're eating foods and you get gassy, bloated, and you don't have cognitive function and you feel foggy after, obviously it doesn't work for you, right? And that was something I was being very mindful that's something I was being very mindful of while doing this approach. I wanted to see, did I get gassy, did I get bloated, how did I feel? I was eating 3 meals a day, and they were very large meals. With that being said, when doing it, I had 0 gas, 0 bloat, felt great clean energy throughout the entire day, and I didn't lose strength. So with it being said, it felt great. I felt good, and I was actually very surprised. Now going forward after the 31 days, where am I gonna go from here? Me personally, I'm gonna literally tell you guys exactly what I'm going to do in my dietary approach going forward. Because at the end of the day, I personally love red meat, and I love the micronutrient factor that it brings to the table with all the little micronutrients that many other proteins don't bring to the table. Now, at the end of the day, going forward after the 31 days, what changes am I personally going to make into my dietary approach? For me personally, my goal is not weight loss. My goal is for performance, and I just want to pack on some more lean muscle mass, main gain, and just feel good and feel healthy. For this approach, I felt great, and I'm not going to steer away from it and say that I didn't. Is this, in my personal opinion, a better approach than a vegetarian approach? If I had Crohn's, colitis, IBS, or type 2 diabetes, absolutely. I will tell you that, because you are going to have a lot less deficiencies than if you were doing that approach. So, something to remember. Always remember the deficiencies, right? Micro minerals, very, very important. Now, going forward, my basis of what I'm personally going to do, when it comes down to my protein, obviously, red meat, eggs, salmon, and beef liver. Those are my core staples, and that's going to be the foundation of my personal diet going forward. I'm giving you guys a good insight here. With that being said, I'm still gonna obviously have good adequate amounts of salt going forward, butter, yes, cheddar cheese, and actually, I'm also going to continue to keep drinking whole milk. Now, something that I've been told my entire life, and this is very interesting for all you guys that maybe have been told you're lactose intolerant. I couldn't consume skim 1% or 2%, but when it came down to it, while doing this approach, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna man up and I'm gonna slam the whole milk anyways, because I really need to see how this is going to affect someone's body when they even were told they were lactose intolerant. Whole milk did not affect me at all. I was drinking 1 liter with my second meal for 31 straight days. That's 31 liters of whole milk. I did not break out, it did not do anything to me, and I felt great while doing it. Great source of calcium, and I am going to continue to keep drinking it going forward. Also, the other things that I am going to incorporate going forward is I am going to incorporate bell peppers back in. I love bell peppers. They have twice the vitamin C content of oranges. I also am going to bring back the yellow potatoes because they're rich in micronutrients and they have twice the potassium content of a banana. And that is basically going to be my staple going forward. I am going to add some handfuls of spinach in my beef as well, just because I just like it. And you know what? It's also got some great micronutrients along with it. And other than that, I'll add some fruit and berries on top of it. So I guess you could almost call it like a vertical approach, but that is where I feel best, and that's the best approach for me as an individual going forward from here on out. And you guys will get to see the effects and the results of doing that. Currently, I am going to main gain. I am going to float around 183 pounds. I might do a cut and try to get leaner and cut off a little bit of body fat if my main gain gets out of control. But in doing so, finding a sustainable approach that works best for you is ultimately the goal. Whatever you guys are trying to do, you want it to be sustainable and something that you can stick to long term for you to be able to get the result that you are looking for. And also making sure that you feel great while doing it. There's 2 things and 2 reasons why people usually don't stick to a dietary approach. It's not that diets don't work, and it's not that fad diets don't work. They work because everyone loses weight. The problem is everybody has a hard time keeping the weight off. And the 2 reasons of that is people get bored of the approach that they are on, or they get cravings. In this approach that I just did for the past 31 days, I had 0 cravings. It was a little bit boring, but me personally, I love meat, I love eggs, I love milk, I love butter, I love salt, I love cheese. So it was actually fairly easy for me to stick to. And that is why it is going to be a core basis, just like it was before, going forward. For anybody that has an autoimmune condition and is looking for maybe an approach that could help bring down the inflammatory response, I do think that this could be a good starting point for you. I do think this is the ultimate elimination diet or elimination approach to bring down the inflammatory response in the body, allowing you to get whatever is going on under control and then use it as a basis going forward. The reason why I say that is because it's full of micronutrients. It is going to be very hard to have deficiencies doing an approach like this. And not only that, you get adequate amounts of protein, which is going to protect your muscle mass, and that is the organ of longevity. And you're also going to get adequate amounts of fat, which is vitally important because that is going to allow your hormones to work optimally. And then going forward, once you get your condition or maybe whatever is going on under control, you can start incorporating things that maybe you enjoy back in and make it a sustainable approach for you. The reason why I personally feel comfortable on saying that right on here, and I know I'm not a doctor or anything like that, so don't shoot the messenger, but my wife's got Crohn's disease, and this is an approach that we have used with her over the past 5 years to get it back under control. And yes, it is through the entire intestinal tract, and yes, if it was to get any worse, she would have to have a colostomy bag. So we live with it in our household, and this is an approach that particularly works for her, and I've seen it work for many individuals that I've personally worked with over the course of the past few years. And to say it after I've personally really implemented it and tried it and took it to the extreme, being very vigilant with it and very restrictive with it, I am very comfortable in saying it could be a great approach for you. So with that being said, guys, here's my before and after results. As you guys can see in the pictures above, They didn't change a whole lot, like I said. There's only a difference of about 6 pounds between all the pictures that you see, and I kept my caloric intake the same. I did feel great, I did feel good, and you know, if you feel like maybe the carnivore approach is for you, give it a go, because at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with trying something new to help you out proceed forward. So if you guys liked this video, please comment, like, subscribe. It's an absolute pleasure to have every single one of you guys watch these videos, and I hope you guys are learning a lot. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you guys on the next video.